Hey everybody, it's Devin at the Christ Light and Love Center here in the Burkesville, Kentucky Vortex. This morning we're on the back side of the property and we're sitting next to the big sassy Cumberland River. And so today I'm going to share with you a first of mine, and that's my first seeing of a UFO that I actually got to witness with two friends one evening. And so I really share this. Well, number one, it's a cool story, and I love telling stories. And I think it encourages some people who've witnessed similar phenomena or other phenomena to, maybe open up about their experiences and share. So, going back up a lot of years ago for me, about 14 years old, and I can even give you the background and a lot of this, a lot of these features I think are still there. So it's Carmel, Indiana, and I'm about 14 years old. Might have been 14, might have been 15, and it's the summertime. And I'll be honest, it was a dry summer. So if any of you older folks know what I mean, there was no smoke to be found around there. And at that time, we really hadn't started drinking, so we would have been pretty darn sober. And so we had gone out to, and I think this elementary is still there today. Now today it's a huge, expensive, multi-million-dollar housing project is around it. But at the time, it's with Cherry Tree Elementary in Carmel, Indiana, was just put in. And so there was still cornfields around this thing. There was no homes with it for at least a few miles. But back then, we had gone out there for the evening. We had gone out there a few other evenings. They had just put in, I think, the basketball courts, and they had paved everything. So there was some place for us to sort of run around and be nuisances. And I want to say I was 14, but I want to say my friends respectively was 15, and then we had a friend who was. We were driving, so he had to have been 16, or it quite possibly might have stolen the parents' car that night. It's hard to tell. Any rate, so back to the story. So, as far as I can recall, and as far as what I remember my friends recalling about the situation was, we don't really remember showing up at the middle school that evening. We don't really remember leaving per se, but we do kind of remember like having a discussion as we were in the car leaving about what we had seen that night. But we don't remember like playing basketball. We don't remember how long we were there. What we do remember is that at some point in time when we were out there in the parking lot, we think we were playing basketball, was we had witnessed this. It was a huge, large, and I don't want to call it an orb necessarily, but it was round, it was spherical. It was probably 8 to 12 feet around, and it wasn't any higher than the tops of the trees above me, and so it was maybe 150 feet away from us. And it sat there and hovered. And we all, stopped at some point in time and we're looking at it, we're commenting about it, and we're questioning each other, well, what the hell is it? And the best I can tell you is, my description's not going to make a whole lot of sense, but things that are, I believe, otherworldly or not of this world, sometimes it's hard to describe them. But again, it was round. There was some light, you could say, on this craft, but there was no like single point of illumination. There was nothing exterior that we could see illuminating, but yet it was, it was illuminating some light. Now, we agreed at some point that it had to be solid because as you could, and again, we agreed it had to be solid, but as you could see through it, and yes, we could see through it, you could see there was some sort of almost like a little control panel. There was something sitting in the middle of this sphere. It wasn't just completely hollow. But again, you could see the stars off the back side of the sphere. So as it sort of hovered there, it was obvious that it was some sort of a solid, but you could see through it. Really kind of, that part, I don't know. So, what else about it? Well, at some point in time, as if we were like, really, really, really quiet, and it's, we're out in the middle of the nowhere, so there's no other sounds. You can hear maybe just a very, very, very slight audible If anybody has ever heard an old refrigerator, that sort of hum, but even much more quieter than that. So there was some little bit of sound it was emitting, but nothing you could really hear. Now, it didn't like jump up and down, it didn't move sideways and forward, you know, it didn't do a bunch of motion. It might have sort of generally sort of hovered and moved a little bit, but you know, it wasn't bouncing around. But this is a thing, guys, is at some point in time, we had to stop looking at it. Now, we kind of go back, we ask ourselves, well, why didn't we, like, pick up rocks and throw at it or something, like, right? We're, like, 14, 15, 16, we're little kids, and why didn't we do something like that? But really all we did is we sat there, we can remember, we sat there and watched it. Now, if you ask us now, how long did you sit there and watch it? I don't know, 15 minutes, a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, don't know. But we also can't seem to tell you what we were doing just prior to, and also what we were doing just after, because you would think you see an unidentified flying object like this, right? And you're going to watch it for at least a couple minutes. Well, we don't know how long we watched it. And the other thing is we don't remember when we would have had at some point in time turn away from it and stop looking at it, right? Or it would have gone off on its own merry way, but we can't recall that either. So there's a lot of missing time around that first encounter with that craft. But yeah, it's interesting to me, and you know, since I've, you know, experienced a lot more years in my life, I've seen a lot of other ships. I've never encountered something quite like this again, and I don't know. I do believe that, you know, me and my two friends were probably taken aboard that night. I have no idea, you know, what it was, or, you know, if anything, I guess, was done to us. I guess, to be honest, the feeling we had from that ball, it was, you know, very benevolent. You know, there was nothing malicious about that ball, but a little bit more maybe. And again, this is just me speculating and pondering. I have a feeling, though, that ball was some sort of maybe a scout ship or something maybe that came before maybe the other ship that we went aboard that night. Well, anyways, guys, you know, that's why they call me out here in the Burkesville, Kentucky vortex, the crazy minister that lives down by the river. So, I love y'all. Talk to you soon, and feel free to share your comments down below about what you've seen. Be good.